The Great Chicago Fire of 1871 was started by a cow.
No, it wasn't.
What are you talking about? Everyone knows that Mrs. O'Leary left a lantern burning in the barn, and her cow knocked it over, starting the fire.
That was just a rumor someone started.
So how did the fire start?
Well, nobody knows for sure. All we know is that on Sunday night, October 8th, 1871, a fire started on DeKoven Street in Chicago. And by Tuesday morning, hundreds of people were dead. Nearly 100,000 were homeless, and the center of Chicago was pretty much in ruins.
That sounds like a huge disaster.
Yeah, it was one of the worst America had ever seen. In a little more than 24 hours, the enormous firestorm destroyed homes, hotels, department stores, City Hall, the train station, churches, factories, almost everything in its path.
Didn't they have a fire department back then to stop the fire?
They did have a fire department. In fact, Chicago's firefighters had just put out a big fire the night before. And they'd put out 20 in the last week, but they couldn't contain this one.
How come?
Well, for one thing, there had only been an inch of rain in the last 3 months. Lots of buildings in the city were made out of wood, and with so little rain, the wood was really dry and flammable, so it burned really fast. Even the sidewalks and streets and bridges were made of wood. People said it seemed like even the ground was on fire. And the winds were really strong that night, so the fire spread quickly, and before the firefighters could do anything, it was already out of control. They didn't even have water to fight it because the fire destroyed the machinery that pumped water around the city.
So what did they do?
All they could do was to try and wake people up and get them to run to someplace safe.
But where could they go?
Some ran out of the city to the prairie. Others ran to the lake shore. Some even took boats into the water. The fire caused the power to go out, so there weren't any streetlights to see by. Families were separated from each other and didn't know for days whether their relatives were alive or not.
So what put the fire out?
After about a day, the wind died down, and it started to rain, and the fire burned itself out. Then they started rebuilding, using less flammable materials and making plans to prevent another major fire. And in just a few years, Chicago became a great city again, even greater than before.
But what happened to the cow?
What cow?
You know, the one that didn't start the fire?
I've just told you about one of the greatest disasters in U.S. history, and you're worried about the cow?
I like cows.
Oh, brother.